Mr. Shravan Singh Parmeswar, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Financial Services and Good Governance, and also board members of the Financial Services Commission. Mr. Benito Eliza, Founder and Chief Executive of the Wakanda Mauritius. My good friend Vinay Gudai, Director of Financial Services at the Economic Development Board. And also thank you for at least putting the preface of what perhaps I'm going to say. I don't know how you peeped through my papers, but it's surprising. And Mr. Ashwin Gopi, CEO of Lex Frontier, distinguished representatives of the industry, distinguished speakers, delegates, and participants, members of the press, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, and a very good morning to you all. And as all speakers before me, they have mentioned, it is actually an immense pleasure to address you to this huge fintech savvy audience today. And that gathered different participants under one roof from different countries. And I also wish to convey my sincere appreciation to those fintech enthusiasts who are following this landmark summit virtually. At the outset, please allow me to thank Wakanda 4.0, Mauritius, for inviting me to this summit. And I always derive immense pleasure when addressing to a tech-savvy audience, or an audience which is very keen to listen to tech side of matters. And in fact, when I was invited to talk to the summit, I did not hesitate for long. As such summits, I recognize they actually complement the work that we as regulators, together with the ministry, we do in the field of fintech and virtual assets. And I also wondered why you use the word cryptoverse. And taking from the literal meaning, it alludes to bringing the universe of crypto to us. And that would encompass, I think, all that we've been hearing today, the cryptocurrency, the blockchain technology, and all related services such as the decentralized finance, smart contracts, ICOs, exchanges, wallets, non-fungible tokens, etc., etc. And the agenda of today actually does justice to the summit. And I'm sure that this summit will go a long way towards establishing Mauritius as a destination of choice for the emerging class of technologies. So, ladies and gentlemen, ever since the emergence of the first cryptocurrencies, and particularly the interests that the big tech companies, and I can mention IBM, the likes of IBM, have placed on the underlying technology, that is the blockchain, we have seen that the number of use cases of the technology has actually exploded over the years. Further, while according to the white paper, the original blockchain was supposed to be, or is, a fully public registry with all the qualities that are associated for transactions being public and cannot be changed. We have seen over the years the emergence of a number of other cryptocurrencies with access rights being slightly modified to give some central control. This is what we call adaptation to the needs of the financial services industry. And today we have all of them around, a number of them. They are not just here to copy what is supposed to exist, but they are here for specific use cases. And with that, we are today in the world of crypto, the way it is, the way we see it, and as any form of universe, that is, we have not yet seen the end. It is coming. but it is already tipped to be the technology that will either lead or complement a number of our existing services. So the clear use cases are already here. Whether it is in the domain of pure fintech or practical things like money transfer, the technologies are being used in these several domains, but most specifically in the financial technology sphere. And all these are very good news. These are actually excellent news for the industry. And this is the reason why the FSC has, over the years, come up with regulations that are adapted to the actual demand of the market. The Commission has already introduced licensing and regulatory frameworks to promote fintech operations in and from Mauritius. And these include, I just cite a number of them, the guidance notes on recognition of digital assets as an asset class for investment by sophisticated expert investors. These guidance notes clarified that funds licensed by the Commission can invest into digital assets as cryptocurrencies. We also have the peer-to-peer lending framework, the crowdfunding rules, the payment intermediary services license for businesses exclusively outside Mauritius, robotic and artificial intelligence enabled advisory services rules, custodian services for the digital assets, and framework for security token offerings. So, dear audience, if you take a look at the statistics in terms of virtual assets usage, Mauritius ranked 76th overall and 16th for P2P trade volume according to the 2021 Global Cryptocurrency Adoption Index. Mauritius received 5 billion USD equivalent in estimated value between July 2020 to July 2021, involving domestic participants. As responsible regulators, we believe that it is better to have such activities carried out in a regulated environment rather than the service providers as well as the consumers being left to the wilderness of the systems, whereby eventually the end customers might irremediably become victims of the system. And the FSC has continued to explore the regulatory framework for activities to be conducted in a regulated environment. And in this connection, ladies and gentlemen, the Virtual Asset and Initial Token Offering Services, commonly known as the VITUS Act, came into force with the specific objective to regulate all activities in the crypto domain, including the issuance of tokens or coins, as we may call it. And the purpose of the VITUS Act was also to provide inter alia for the managing, mitigating, and preventing money laundering, financing of terrorism, and proliferation risks associated with virtual assets and initial token offering services. The need to include such a legislation was for us to comply with the famous Recommendation 15 of the FATF. And we are among the first countries in the Eastern and Southern African region to adopt such legislation, which has also enabled us to be compliant or largely compliant on all the 40 recommendations of the FATF. And I must underscore that none other than the Permanent Secretary was very, very much bullish about us being able to achieve that. The accompanying rules of the VITUS, which are equally important and give a guidance on how the operators need to put into practice the requirements of the spirit of the law, these have also been issued, and Vinay Guda just mentioned them. And these include the capital and other financial requirements, disclosure, client disclosure, custody of client assets, cybersecurity, publication of advertisement, risk management, statutory returns, and the travel rules. And I'm pleased to highlight that while drafting the above licensing and regulatory frameworks, the Commission has received all throughout the support of the World Bank. I wish to further underscore that the enactment of the VITOS, with the enactment of the VITOS, no activity can be carried out from Mauritius, or no activity can be offered to Mauritian residents without the appropriate license from the Commission. And this is a very strong statement that we put forward to ensure that such activities now occur in a purely regulated domain. And there is a reason for which we have put this forward. It has been observed that end customers have been lured by unscrupulous service providers on the extraordinary returns on crypto assets. Since this is a domain where few people understand, but a number of them pretend to understand, vehicling information to fake websites is a very easy way to catch the attention of people, especially at a time when the traditional financial systems are not giving the traditional required high returns. We have also ensured that we enforce the requirements of the VITOS. And to this respect, we have a desk monitor. You have a desk to monitor the activities, and I wish to share that we have, in terms of enforcement actions, issued not less than 23 letters to entities allegedly operating as virtual asset service providers regarding the requirements to be licensed, launched 8 special investigations pertaining to persons potentially operating as VASPs and referred to the Mauritius Police Force, issued 9 directions to persons potentially operating as VASPs, and issued 5 investor alerts, and the assistance of the Computer Emergency Response Teams of Mauritius was sought to pull down the said websites of the 5 companies. And we have finally also referred IP addresses to the Mauritius Police Force for necessary actions from the end. Ladies and gentlemen, now that I have shared what actions we might take for non-compliance, please now allow me to share with you how do you become compliant? How do you get the license? The Act provides for 5 classes of license, which are the virtual assets broker-dealer, the virtual assets wallet services, virtual asset custodian, virtual asset advisory services, and the biggest one being the virtual assets marketplace, commonly known as the VASP. The different operators may pick and choose the different types of licenses that they may wish to apply for. And at the same time, for the initial token offerings, the service providers need to seek a registration with the Commission. At the FSC, we are very much aware of the complexity of this domain, that on one hand, we have got a space which is emerging and people know about it, at the same time, how to process, and it is not always straightforward. And this is where perhaps your discussions on the Wakanda 4.0 being the support might come very handy for those who want to be in this space. I did mention at the beginning that another objective of the VITOS was to ensure that we are compliant with the AML-CFT requirements. This is because the virtual asset service providers and the ITOs are categorized as financial institutions and are therefore subject to the full prudential AML-CFT legislative frameworks as are applicable to traditional financial institutions. Ancillary to the VITOS Act, the Commission has also issued the AML-CFT guidance notes, which set out the main areas of concern when it comes to virtual assets. The AML-CFT guidance notes provide not only for an outlook on the significance of money laundering or terrorist financing risks associated with virtual asset activities, but also serve as a guidance for the VASPs and ITOs with respect to their anti-money laundering and combating of financing of terrorism compliance obligations under the VITOS. At a time when the global regulatory landscape is uncertain, our regulatory framework provides clarity and consistency. Indeed, our regulatory landscape provides for all dimensions of the public's interface with the virtual assets to protect them and at the same time address prudential and AML CFT risks. With a new legislative framework in place, it was therefore our duty as regulator to undertake a financial literacy paradigm to educate consumers about virtual assets and to create an overall understanding and awareness about those assets so that investors are aware of the risks they entail. The Commission launched its financial literacy campaign on virtual assets to, firstly, send a strong message to the service providers informing them that they need a license from the Commission to provide such service in the Mauritian jurisdiction, and secondly, to create awareness among investors that they have to deal for their own protection with only those service providers who have been duly licensed. We are also aware that the licensees under the VITOS are of complex nature, and we have put at the disposition of the service providers a help desk to guide them through the process. And I'm pleased to further inform the fintech community that the Commission has streamlined its licensing process for applications under the VITOS Act. Applications are now assessed based on information submitted on our FSC1 platform and on the confirmations, undertakings, and declarations from the applicants. The Commission may grant a license within 10 to 12 days following the completeness of the application. The Commission will have regard to the following while we process the application. Applications must be complete and accompanied by the detailed information about the business. Applicants must demonstrate that they are able to comply with all the relevant legislative requirements, including those pertaining to customer due diligence and AML-CFT. Applicants must meet the fitness and proprietary requirements and must respond properly to the FSC queries and fully disclose all requested information that is relevant to the assessment of the application. I am happy to complement the information that was already shared today that new licensing process has enabled the Commission to issue six in-principle approvals for the following types of licenses: the virtual asset broker, dealer, virtual asset wallet services, virtual assets custodian, virtual assets marketplace, and the virtual assets advisory services. One of those companies, perhaps sitting among you, you might be learning about it more perhaps in the tea breaks. And the Commission has a number of applications currently under process and is expecting to grant more licenses before the end of this year. As a concluding remark, I wish to highlight that Mauritius remains committed to meeting international norms and standards. With a re-rating upgrade of the FATF Recommendation 15, the compliance of Mauritius with the FATF recommendations enhances the status of the jurisdiction as a transparent jurisdiction in the global financial services sector and reinforces its position as a prominent investment decision. The Commission will continue to protect the integrity of the virtual assets ecosystem with a view to uphold the reputation of Mauritius as a robust and credible jurisdiction. We will continue to remain focused on the supervision framework as well as continuously improve and streamline our licensing processes. I am confident that going forward, we will build a jurisdiction of repute when it comes to the services in the field of virtual assets, while being in compliance with the international standard setting bodies. On this note, I wish you fruitful deliberations on this conference, which you are aware focuses on the latest regulatory and market changes and aims to shed light on the practical implications of the ongoing initiatives on the virtual assets ecosystem. Thank you very much for your kind attention.